I normally don't do videos on this, but when Venus moves into Leo on June 13th, it is going to be making aspects to quite a few planets and luminaries. One aspect in particular will be its opposition to Pluto in Aquarius, which is actually here to help us deconstruct some things when it comes to our love life that may be holding us back from reaching our fullest potential. But I will actually get into that a little bit more in detail later on in this video. Pluto in Aquarius is slowly transforming the collective into authentic individuals. And that's one thing I actually like about it, is that we are in a time where individuals support other individuals. In one point in history, individuals supported companies and corporations because there were not options. Now, we're not fully transformed out of that pattern, but I do witness that people are putting their own individual twist on everything, and others are actually supporting it. Just look at how many new products are being created by one single person, or all the new music that is coming out by unsigned people. Creativity is flowing. We are not bound by just a few sources for our knowledge. So I thank you for supporting me and watching my channel and listening to my individual message for the collective. And even though you may not realize it, by watching and listening to my video, it's building this momentum in the collective for the power of the individual. You know, I said it in another video of mine. I took a 5-month break from doing these videos because I had left a job where I made some pretty good money, but I was not passionate about what I was doing. And over time, I felt completely fake doing what I was doing. And it got to a point where I could not do it anymore. So I quit. Imagine the shock for my family when I made this announcement. So I began this journey on YouTube, only to discover that YouTube becomes your 9-to-5 job, and you actually work harder because YouTube wants you to post consistently. They want you to have all kinds of different platforms to get your channel out there and to advertise. And before you know it, you are creating websites, newsletters, Patreons, courses, and the whole 9 yards. And then on top of it, you basically get a whole college degree in psychology and how to create these clickbaity thumbnails and how to create titles that create this suspense and yada, yada, yada. I had to step away from that. I know that doing all of those things would help my channel grow tremendously, but that's not who I am. I dance to the beat of my own drum and I make my own rhythm. So my videos may be posted inconsistently, and that's okay. You know, when I was following the algorithm, I always felt rushed to fill some kind of deadline. And then I would feel like I had left out something that I needed to say, or I would make videos when I wasn't inspired. And I just couldn't sustain that, no matter what the algorithm wanted from me. Now, I do videos when I'm inspired and I share what comes through. I take my time to connect to higher wisdom and do things at my own pace, even if it means not fitting into this world's time. So again, thank you so much for staying with me, even if I do things a little different and a little inconsistently than the algorithm wants me to. And I'd say if you are connecting with me, we're probably a lot alike, and you are a different person in this world too. You're like a river carving its own path through the world because you don't follow the mapped routes that have already been created. The beautiful thing is over time, you are going to be able to shape the land your own unique way. So here's to the trailblazers. Thank you for supporting my channel. Now, let's look forward to June 13th when Venus will be moving into Leo. I usually don't do videos on Venus moving into a different sign because it happens often. Venus is actually never more than 2 signs away from the sun. So she will change signs multiple times during the year. But this particular transit makes some aspects with other energies in our skies that I feel are going to bring up some important lessons for our collective. So I just couldn't wait to share these insights with my friends. One thing is for sure, with this transit, there will be a lot of lessons coming to the collective about how to balance your needs with other people's needs in a relationship without compromising each other's authenticity, as well as lessons surrounding the need for control. So before we deep dive into how I arrived at what this transit is going to teach us, I want to first dissect what Venus energy is and what Leo energy is. And this is where things get interesting. So if you're in a relationship during this transit, you may discover that you and your partner are very similar in some ways, yet quite different in others. And if you are single, you may have noticed that you attract people that are similar, yet a little different. You may have noticed this before this transit as well. But this is how the Leo energy works in Venus. Venus and Leo share much in common, but at their core, they're quite different. Sometimes they truly get one another, and other times they cannot understand why the other acts the way that they do. When it comes to similarities, Venus and Leo both enjoy things that they value. They do not mind at all to invest in what feels worthwhile to them. They don't care to be generous and give towards the things that they treasure. Both love beauty, and each energy has this aesthetic flair about them where they can enjoy presenting themselves in ways that please people or please the eye. Each has a unique charm in social settings and warmly welcome pleasure in their life. They prefer things that look, feel, and taste good and expect the best. At heart, they're both romantics who love and romanticism. But how each energy goes about enjoying each of these similarities is a wee bit different. So yes, they both love what's valuable, but they value different things. Now, I know this is a broad cliched example just to make a point. So to make the difference, Leo may see something with an expensive price tag. They may see that as valuable because it's considered high-end and makes them look good. You know, I can't help but think of this line that Gucci did a while back where they had these shirts that had snakes on them and they had a lot of different designs. I'm sure you can look it up. Was that shirt visually pleasing to everyone? No. But to a Leo, they can enjoy the fashion because it shows off that they have the money for a $1,500 shirt. They value how they present themselves to the world, and they don't want to come off as less than others. There's a reason they're considered the kings of the jungle. Now, Venus won't act the same way when it comes to what she values or what she invests in. So Venus sees beauty and worth in things that are not always bought or tangible. So she values intimacy, connection, and harmony alongside the visual appeal. This can mean that Venus can enjoy and appreciate the beauty in something as simple as a single wildflower growing in this vast field. She can see that relationships bring value to us, although they aren't always perfect. They can sometimes be a mess. So you see how they are similar, yet different. The same dynamic occurs in how each energy uses their natural charisma. Venus has this graceful charm about her. She doesn't have to be dramatic. She can have some smooth social interactions where she appreciates what each person brings to the conversation. Leo just radiates this warm charisma with others. He has this way of bringing out the fun side in conversations. He can be playful or make little jokes that keep the social interaction feeling good. The same differences play out in what they find pleasurable too. Venus tends to pursue sensual comforts, so she likes what looks good, tastes good, feels right for her and her connections. Leo pursues his pleasures in this joyful, fun way, and it could also include some risk. That makes it fun. His inner lion wants pleasure to feel good to him and to make him look generous and impressive if he's actually doing something to delight someone else. Now, I know in this video, I'm saying he and she in my example, but I'm using those words to help separate the two energies so it makes it clear what I'm talking about. I don't really gender the signs or the planets. I know that's a thing, and I may have actually done it in the past, but on my journey, I realized that when I am using he or she to describe an energy, I'm really just speaking to one polarity versus another. The yin and yang in each sign, the passive versus the active energy in each. But with the words that we have now as humans, it's simpler just for me to say he or she. So the final distinction I want to highlight concerns how each energy approaches romance. So both Leo and Venus can be warm and affectionate and deeply loyal. However, their motivations differ. So Venus loves love because of the unity that it brings and the connection that it creates and the forging of a strong bond it causes between two people. She does things for others because it strengthens that togetherness of the team. Leo, on the other hand, loves love almost as a stage where attention can shine upon them. They appreciate a safe relationship where they are recognized for their generous big heart. And if they look well, they want everyone they value to look well as well because they see anyone that is in a close relationship with them as an extension of their self. It is a reflection of them on how you look. So our lions don't mind to spoil someone because it actually makes them look good to others. So as you can see, Venus and Leo are alike, but radically different. They may not always see eye to eye when trying to mix these two energies together. Leo is like the sun. He's centered and on his own and self-sustaining, and he leads and pursues. Venus, on the other hand, is like a magnet. She doesn't chase, she attracts. Where my little Leo doesn't actually mind to chase to get what he wants. Venus loves connection, where Leo is fine on his own. Venus is about cooperation, unity, beauty, and love, and Leo is about ego, dominance, power, and independence. And because of these differences, you'll find some tension. Venus is that magnet that pulls things towards her because of her inner beauty. Leo is the opposite. Leo knows what he wants and then radiates that outwards until he gets it. So one energy pulls things in and one energy radiates things out. During this transit, be prepared to experience some push-pulling in your relationships. And also, while I'm thinking about it, this is a very, very, very general video over a very specific energy that is happening in the sky. Always remember with any video that I do, that you do have to look at your whole chart. There are energies that get along with Leo, and then there are some energies that cannot stand him. It just grinds their gears during dealing with that Leo energy. It also helps to see what house you have in your chart that is ruled by Leo, because you can narrow down where those push-pull dynamics may come into play in your life. And also, any aspects being made to this Venus transit will greatly affect how it plays out. But overall, We should feel some type of push-pull dynamic happening in our closest relationship, or experience some inner tension between how we go after what we love. As a human, you have both masculine and feminine energies within you. So there may be this inner conflict within you where you have to decide whether you chase after what you want, or do you just wait to receive it? Do you become independent and self-sustaining, or do you connect with others who can reciprocate? Do you have to be demanding to get what you want, or can you be graceful and charming and still get your needs met? How do you balance getting your needs met in a relationship while considering the needs of the other person in the dynamic? Venus doesn't like the scales to tip in one direction or another. She wants things fair, equal, and just for everyone. So when someone is overgiving and there is an imbalance, it will be highlighted during this transit. At its core, Venus being in Leo is asking us to bring these two energies into harmony. How can we compromise without losing ourselves? Relationships require compromise. When you are able to unite both of these energies, the masculine and the feminine, you get a power couple. Leo brings the power and the sovereignty, and Venus brings the intimacy, connection, and the bond. So you get a bonded couple who are each showing up as their sovereign being in a divine, intimate connection. It's a place where the healthiest version of masculine and feminine unite within each of us. Each person is good on their own, not depending on the other. But each person also realizes that they are a team and wants to show up as their best version for their teammate. You begin noticing you lead with integrity, guide with others' well-being in your mind, compromise and find solutions that benefit the whole unit. Shine and don't get jealous when the other person is in their power, and connect because you feel safe to do so. Look, you're dealing with power, which is Leo, and love, which is Venus. Power and love have to get along. They cannot be at odds. That's why you hear of the power of love. That's when love is united with power. It's the highest power here in this realm. So what's going to help us unite power and love? Well, you guessed it. Pluto in Aquarius. It's in a very, very special place right now in the sky. And believe me, it is no accident that it is where it is right now. Pluto is in 5 degrees of Aquarius. And when Venus enters Leo, we are going to feel some energy from this opposition because it'll be at 0 degrees. But Pluto is retrograding at the moment, which means it appears as though it's moving backwards in our sky here on Earth. And if you actually want to know more about this, I just did a video on Pluto retrograding. So I'll leave a link to it in the description if you want to get to the reason behind all of that. It will explain everything you need to know about Pluto retrograding. But anyways, so as Venus moves forward in Leo, Pluto moves backwards in Aquarius. They will meet at a direct opposition on June 18th when you will feel this energy the strongest. My more sensitive souls may feel it sooner and then often a few days later after the opposition is at its strongest point. But don't worry, my little buttercups. Pluto brings your psyche into this push-pull dynamic in your relationships. Pluto likes to get to the core of the problem. It does not want to stay surface level and gloss over things so that you look pretty on the inside but decayed on the inside. No. Pluto comes into the psyche, which means often you have to go inward and figure out psychologically, why is your relationship playing out the way that it is? Why is there an imbalance? Why are you not a power couple? And when I use power couple in this instance, I'm not talking about two people two physical people being in a relationship, okay? I'm talking about why is there tension between your inner masculine and your inner feminine? Which one is trying to control your narrative right now? Which one is trying to dominate the other? What would it look like if both the masculine and the feminine were balanced within you? What do you need in order to bring the union within? The answer to this question is going to take some time to reflect upon. And you're going to have to figure out what happened to get you to where you are today. I'll use myself as an example. I lived on a farm when I was little, and each family member had certain chores. So you had to do your part or the farm would not sustain. I was constantly in my initiating energy and fixing things or leading cattle to a specific place. I stayed in this active energy, always pursuing anything I wanted until I was dang near 40 years old. And then one day, I stopped. I was burnt out, and I started learning the art of receiving and waiting and magnetizing things to you. Well, I flipped from one extreme to another. I didn't lead, initiate, take action, or do anything. Well, some things would come to me and some would not. I was totally dependent on the universe. It was then that I discovered that you have to have the right balance of active and passive energies. Yes, you have to work towards what you want, but you don't have to obsess about it. It will come. You just stay diligently working, but you don't have to get to a burnout point. Like I said in the beginning of my video, I do things at my own pace and my own rhythm now, but I always make sure to still do things. I'm not a blob on a bed just waiting for $1 billion to come to me randomly one day. I'm a creative, divine being. That is the Leo energy. Leo brings that creative energy out in us. This energy likes to express itself in unique ways. But the compromise that comes with Venus is there is beauty in working with other parts of ourselves. Venus showed me my rhythm. Once I united my creative expression with my own rhythm, I found freedom. Pluto in Aquarius wants us to govern ourselves without the need of one-size-fits-all rules. We regulate ourselves because we have control of ourselves. Not too many people have control over their mind, body, emotions, and spirit at the moment. It's why we can all be easily led astray doing things and then later regret it. When Pluto opposes this specific Venus placement, a lesson is brought forth and a question emerges. Where in my life am I performing and trying to fit into a world that goes against my very nature and is preventing me from serving others? Listen, Leo thrives on performance. Quite literally, the world is our stage. Pluto asks us to become conscious of the parts of ourselves that we're suppressing just to belong. For me, that meant abandoning my own natural rhythm. Working on the farm demanded I wake up at 5 a.m. and follow these rigid schedules that we had created. The farm never took a day off. And because of this, I surrendered my natural pace and focus to comply. It's no wonder I felt so uninspired during that time. I was living to someone else's tempo, not my own. It was exhausting. I had no energy left to share my gifts to the world. Now that things are in alignment, everything flows. It doesn't mean I get out of doing the work. I now flow in my work, and there's a real difference. Now, as we know, as within, so without. So what's going on internally manifests outward. I always think of it as I can't see what's going on inside of me, but that's just an illusion. I can tell what's going on inside of me by what is playing out on the outside of me. And remember, Venus values relationships because they are our greatest teachers, even though they do get a little messy and unsorted at times. And while I was talking about the tension within you just a second ago, I want to point out that this energy can manifest right out into the physical and into your closest relationships. Romantic, child, parent, siblings, work relationships, it doesn't matter. Love and power are at a tug of war right now. They are both at one end of the rope trying to overpower the other one. If this specific part of you is not healed, you may be wondering to yourself, how can I express my love in this relationship or in my closest relationships when there are unequal power dynamics going on? Once you reflect, you have an opportunity to discover in what way someone is subtly controlling you or controlling a part of you. Now, this may not be so easy to recognize for some because it's quite literally the only dynamic you've been in since you were a child, so you don't even realize you are being controlled. For example, some people throw a huge dramatic temper tantrum because whether they realize it or not, when they throw a temper tantrum, no matter what age they are, people respond to the want or the need. So your parents may throw temper tantrums when they don't get what they want. So you grew up always correcting your behavior when they acted that way. And now you do the same thing in your close relationships. So your partner throws a tantrum when they don't get their way so that you will change your behavior. And you do. Pluto likes to go deep into our subconscious. So with Pluto opposing this Venus, it's shining a light into your subconscious for you to see the ways that you are being controlled in this world. You'll actually probably see this energy being played out in the collective too. A light starts shining on the ways that we're being controlled as a population. I expect this to be known and talked about more during this transit. If you do want to get a head start on this, you can begin reflecting on how you may be denying yourself something that you need in a relationship. And this requires being radically honest with yourself, what that means to you and why you're doing it. So some of you may begin to actually feel a pressure about the people pleasing that you do. If there is an external source that is bossing you around or trying to dictate your life, prepare to feel a squeeze to change this dynamic in your life. Venus in Leo is pushing back on Pluto in Aquarius, okay? The energy is not united and going in the same direction. They're both pushing back, so there's a pressure that builds. If you are constantly doing for something or someone outside of you and the person is demanding you do it or makes you feel like you must do it to save the relationship or keep that person in your life, then fully prepare to feel your soul telling you that you are more than capable of speaking up for your wants and needs, and that you are more than capable to do with your life what you want to do. There will almost be this rebellion against taking orders from others in your closest relationship. At some point, and this will be different for everyone, you will reach your capacity. Pluto isn't afraid to make us meet our shadow side, no matter how long it takes for us to get there. Pluto wants you to dig deep and find out the why. Why are you allowing an external force to control you? This could be your spouse, your kid, your job, your boss, your doctor, anything, even the government, if we want to look at the whole world. Let's say that you're from a family where you were the kid who got good grades, so you never failed, okay? I'm going to use an example. Well, now you're married, and your spouse has cheated and lied and stole from you, yet you don't want to get a divorce because to the world, that would seem like you don't really have a good marriage. So you stay and continue the poor treatment because you have pride in looking like you always succeed. You cannot admit to failure. Well, this opposition is going to bring you some opportunities where you heal that need to feel perfect, where you realize your well-being is worth more than anything bad anyone could ever say about you. Who cares what they think? Pluto wants to discover where you are sacrificing yourself in a relationship. And more importantly, wants you to figure out what is okay to sacrifice. You know, some people decide to sacrifice some time for the other person. You know, my grandpa loved baseball games. He went to a lot of them. And my grandmother could have cared less, but she still went, so he would have someone to go with. That's a sacrifice some people are willing to give. Now, do you sacrifice respect in order to please the other person in your relationship? You know, you could find out that it's a boundary that you're just not willing to cross. It goes both ways. The answers will be different for everyone. But what are you willing to sacrifice? Pluto is going to tear down that tower of pride where you don't want to look like you fail. And Pluto likes to challenge fake things. So if you're being fake in your relationship right now, or your relationship is based on these fake masks that you wear to the public that makes it look like it's perfect, expect Pluto to start tearing down these relationships. We're headed to Authenticityville, people. There is no fakeness there. I also expect to see some celebrity couples experience some breakoffs or at least some type of restructuring during this opposition. And you could see this in your personal life as well. So, you know, if you're in a relationship because it benefits you, and this goes for the celebrities, it's going to start deconstructing. Love is meant to be authentic, not transactional. So if you're pretending in any way, expect some tower moments in your close relationships that make you reflect on why you are so bound to this relationship. Work through what the bigger issue is so that you are freed from this need to perform for some type of external validation. That's the shadow side of Leo. Slowly but surely, each human in this collective consciousness is moving towards a more authentic self where we can be loved exactly how we are and feel safe to be our true selves while being strong enough to govern ourselves. Not because it's the right thing to do because society says so, but because we have control over ourselves to live in authenticity. Mwah.